Welcome back to the 34th episode of the BatChums podcast. I'm Drew Leiter, and joining me tonight is my co-host, the man, the myth, the new legend, Mike Gordon.
Howdy, dude. This is the end of season 1.
I know, it's crazy.
We just finished season 1, 34 episodes. I can't wait to talk about this one, but I just have to, put a pin in that and say, my goodness. I know we talked about how long the seasons were back then, and it just seems like, in some ways, it seems like it was a lot of episodes. I mean, 34 episodes, but it also seems like it went by really fast.
It did.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, wow. So, I mean, I think the fact that they're two-parters help that because it's like half the time. Like it says 34, but it's really 17 stories, right?
Yeah.
I think I did the math on that, right? So math is not my strong suit, but yeah. And this is a season finale. When people watched this in 1966, right?
Yep.
They had no idea if there was going to be more to come because I don't think the network had announced that it was going to be renewed at this point. A lot of times back then, you didn't really know until August or so when the fall season stuff came out, the information, that TV guide that everybody got and all that kind of stuff. Like, I mean, the information was not nearly as prevalent then, so you had to just wait and see. But Batmania was really just getting started. I mean, it took about a few episodes, of course, but by this time, I mean, it's still hot. I don't see that this wouldn't have been renewed by ABC. I think it was ABC at the time because I mean, right now, Batman is just still on fire. And we haven't even really gotten to I mean, we only saw one cameo in the window
Yeah, that's right.
this whole first season, just one cameo, and that was Jerry Lewis. Now, that's going to become, I understand that's going to become a thing where we're going to see that almost every other week or so, but still, that's surprising. Like we only get the one for the whole season.
That is surprising. Because I remember the cameos, and yeah, I was very surprised we'd only seen one this season.
Yep, yep. So now I can't recall in the last week, did we talk about whether or not you remembered this one? Have you seen this one before?
Um, no, I don't remember this one.
Gotcha.
So I'm kind of curious. There's a lot of episodes I don't remember from this season. So I'm wondering if the episodes I do remember are going to be a lot from season 2 and 3. And I can tell you off the top of my head, I think I've seen the introduction to Batgirl more than once. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I know that doesn't come till season 3.
Right, right. Yeah.
So
That's
I'll be curious when we go through season 2, how many of those episodes I remember. Because there's some things I'm remembering that I haven't seen yet. So,
So this one did not, if you saw this one, and I'm the same way, even though I've seen this series a few times, this two-parter with the Penguin didn't really register with me, I guess, because a lot of this felt new to me. I don't know, there's not really a lot in here that I think that is outstanding, but it's still pretty solid. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it.
all right. So this is season 1, episode 34. Batman Makes the Scenes. Episode aired Thursday, May 5th, 1966. Directed by Tom Grise. I'm sorry if I butchered that. Writer was Sheldon Stark. So, when we last left the dynamic duo, Penguin had captured them and put them in a vacuum room. Penguin is sucking out all the air in the room, and once all the balloons have popped, there will be no more air, and our heroes will suffocate.
Dun, dun, dun. Magic
So,
Batman.
yes, it is Magic Batman time. Magic Bat.
Will Batman and Robin survive the gigantic reversing bellows?
Okay, did you get that magic Batman? Here we go. The Dark Knight says, right.
Right.
So is that sarcastic? The Batman, the Dark Knight says, right.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. He knows all.
He
His
does.
wisdom is profound.
Holy oxygen! The penguin cheers as the last balloon pops, and the indicator states there is no more oxygen left in the vacuum room. Penguin and his henchmen leave because they must establish an alibi. they 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 dashed out of there quickly after Batman and Robin had deceased, but they did have to do some cheering.
It would, on the one hand, it does explain why the villains leave before the dynamic duo is actually deceased in a lot of these death traps, so they can establish an alibi. That actually is kind of funny. But right before he says, "Let's establish an alibi," he's just over the moon that he's finally been the one to kill Batman and Robin, and he's very excited about it. Like he wants the world to know. Like, I think you would want the world to know what you did, I guess, but then again, you don't want to be arrested and convicted for it.
Yeah, but leaving the bodies at your hideout, would that kind of give it away?
Exactly. It's a good point. It's a good point. Yeah. Yeah. You might have been away, but somebody did something while you were gone. It is your hideout after all.
At police headquarters, Batman explains that the emergency tank of bat oxygen in his utility belt kept him and Robin alive. After cutting his bonds with his bat knife, he simply freed Robin and carried him to the Batmobile.
This might be one of the lamest excuses for getting out of a jam that we've seen yet. I think we
But
talked about it last week that the jam that they were in was not very thrilling.
mm, no, it wasn't.
For this to be the last episode of the first season, I think the cliffhanger was kind of not one of the better ones, and certainly the resolution was definitely one of the weaker ones. So, I mean, I applaud the show for being silly, but I also, I have to call him on some things too when it doesn't feel great. I mean, if it embraces the silliness, that's one thing, but this just seemed like it just like they didn't really care.
I have to agree with you. But it also, if you think about it, it does make sense.
I mean,
Having the oxygen right there to keep him breathing. I mean, it was pretty
sure.
easy.
Well, yes. But that like why didn't the penguin notice that? It should have registered and all of that stuff. Like it just like there was no way he could have got to his belt and it just yeah. I mean, we didn't see any of that. They're presumed dead. And the next thing we know, they're in the commissioner's office explaining how they're alive. And I think there was a better way they could have handled it, which might have helped a little bit. But let's face it, like we said, this wasn't one of the better death traps. And certainly, so I can't expect a great resolution if it's not one of the better ones to begin with.
Another thing I want to point out is I remember a lot of times the villains taking their utility belts. They haven't got smart enough to start taking their utility belts yet.
Yeah. And the Joker has, because he did in the last death trap that he put them in, he took their utility belts, I believe. And or he had some sort of field where they didn't work or something like that. And uh you know I think the director was more concerned about showing off Miss Julie Gregg, aka Fenella, and that swimsuit than he was about the thrill of the actual like death trap, because I mean she's bent over in a way that just doesn't look
Yeah,
like it's kid friendly.
I have to
And
agree with you. She was in that position for quite a while.
exactly. And it's just kind of like, The dads are all in the room, like watching it, going woohoo. But I don't know. There's not really much in there for the kids. The kids have to look away. Maybe I don't know. It's again, yeah. But fortunately, that's not over. This is only the first few minutes, and we still get Burgess Meredith, gleefully playing as the Penguin.
Chief O'Hara is ready to send his men to the pier to capture Penguin, but Batman states he's already fled the coop. They search for Penguin, but he seems to have disappeared for now. Commissioner Gordon flags down Bruce Wayne outside of Smith, Smythe.
I need to put a pin on that too.
Okay.
They can't find the Penguin. I thought the Penguin left so he could establish an alibi. Shouldn't they be able to find the Penguin if he was establishing an alibi somewhere?
That is very true. No, I didn't kill Batman. I was here.
we couldn't find you. We have no way of knowing where you were. so so go ahead. And now next.
All right. Commissioner Gordon flags down Bruce Wayne outside of Smith, Smythe, and Smith stockbroker's office. Commissioner Gordon wants to know where the millionaire's banquet is held. When the commissioner learns of the location, he relays the information back to Batman. Batman informs Robin and Alfred that word has leaked via the underworld grapevine that the dinner is being held at Wayne Manor. The police will be waiting for the Penguin. In reality, the dinner will be held in the captain's dining salon aboard the flagship of the Wayne Steamship Company, the SS Gotham Neptune.
There's a lot of fun stuff here. The commissioner talking to Batman, then talking to Bruce Wayne, then calling Batman, then calling Bruce Wayne again. Like it's just like that sort of like back and forth. You see Adam West going in and out of outfits or whatever. Actually, he doesn't even bother. Like I think he was on the phone at one point. He's talking as Batman, even though he's dressed as Bruce Wayne. Um, and uh, and of course, them parlaying the incorrect information to Alfred because they know that Alfred is been working for the Penguin, not for his own purposes, but because he's been brainwashed.
Yep. He's been compromised.
He's been compromised. Good call.
So, but yeah, him flagging down Commissioner Gordon flagging down Bruce Wayne right when he's getting ready to go get his money, because that's what it seemed like he was getting ready to do.
Yeah,
And
because they have to have that in cash.
Bruce Wayne just kind of, yeah, doesn't really question it that much. Just gives him the answer.
It's Commissioner Gordon.
Yep. Later, Alfred is washing windows when the Penguin calls. Using a secret Penguin noisemaker, the brainwashed Alfred reveals the plans to Penguin, including the fact that Miss Natural Resources is the chosen charity for the year. She is supposed to jump out of a cake.
Alan
Penguin,
Napier is so good here. He is so good at trying to he's just dusting and singing along, gets the call, then he goes into the, zombie, sort of hypnosis mode. But then he's fighting it. He's fighting it with every fiber of his. You really feel that Alfred is fighting this. He doesn't want to reveal this to the Penguin, but yet he has no choice. And Alan Napier is great. He's absolutely amazing doing all of that.
yeah, because you can see it in his face. The acting he does with his face when he's on the phone with the Penguin shows it all right there. Him fighting it.
As
So
good as he was in the first part when he was getting under the influence, so to speak, being subjected to that mind probe, and now he's doing the same thing, but he's battling it. It looks great. And Burgess Meredith on the other side of the line with that little, I wish I had one of those penguin guns, quack quack quack, like just squawk 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 squawk. It was just too funny. That's probably one of my favorite scenes in the whole episode.
let's see. Penguin and his henchmen gas the real Miss Natural Resources and replace her with Vanilla. Batman shows up and escorts her to the secret destination.
Weird scene. That's a weird scene where Batman shows up with a lily for her, right? And
Yeah.
she's like, I don't want you to see in my apartment." So, because I don't know what's there is, I guess, I don't know. I don't know what's there that she doesn't want him to see, but because I thought
The
everybody cleared
the
out.
pink no, the penguin was hiding in there still.
Oh, was he still? Okay.
Yeah, that's why.
So, and then and Batman's like really, it's weird because the way he's acting, you don't know if he knows that it's Fenella, because he should know what Miss Natural Resources looks like. I would think because should have been the one at the benefit before when they all were dancing around, all the women dressed as charities or
Yeah.
representing
Well,
different charities in swimsuits.
I think in my opinion, I think he knows.
You think he knows?
And yeah, and we'll find out why in a little bit.
Yes,
So
I do know that. Well, he does suspect something's going to happen. I mean, well, because they've laid out, they know that they gave Alfred the wrong information, so they know that Penguin's going to plan something. So you're right. He's probably on the know here.
2 hours later, aboard the SS Gotham Neptune, the cake is brought out. Vanilla pops out of the cake, and the millionaires throw money at her. Okay, we got to stop here for a minute because this this felt like a classy. We were at a classy strip joint or something.
Well,
Popping out the
the whole thing about the millionaires and they get together to do this charitable work, right? To decide how much they're going to give to this one charity. But, all the all the charities in the first dinner are represented by women in swimsuits. And so are they voting on the charity? Or are they voting on the woman? Um, and then the woman, pops out of a cake. They throw money at her, which obviously has, definite stripper connotations to it as well. The way that Fenella acts in this whole thing is very much like she's like I think she's got to be, in my opinion, one of the worst, least favorite of all of the women that have been working with bad guys, because usually we've seen some that are right there with the villain, sometimes even more so, doing things to help out. Now, some of them do get they backpedal a little bit when it comes to the violence, especially once they figure out how handsome Batman and Robin are. But they usually are a little bit more, dare I say, intelligent. Now, granted, the Joker's got, I mean, the Penguin's got to have somebody to talk to and explain everything that's going on. But man, Fenella is probably one of the ditziest ones that we've ever had. And it just and the whole thing about the millionaires getting together to throw money, because they could just write checks, they could just, like, there's no need for all of this, but yet it does have you're right, it does have this weird sort of feel to it that just feels a lot more, well, like it's a kid friendly version of something, right?
Sorry, you didn't hear that. I said, yeah. I was muted. Sorry.
So very strange, but it is what it is. So
Penguin gives Vanilla the signal. Vanilla pulls out an umbrella and gasses the millionaires, including Batman and Robin, who have taken Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson's place at the dinner.
because that's not suspicious.
Yeah. Penguin returns to his hideout on the pier with the loot. Penguin divides up the loot, but Vanilla doesn't want any part of it. She doesn't like the fact that she cheated to get the chance to jump out of the cake. Plus, who is going to save the natural resources?
I don't even
That
know what that means. The natural resources, like that's a weird cause.
yeah. Batman, Batman and Robin pop out of Penguin's safe stating crime never pays. The henchmen yell, the dynamic duo in unison, and then a fight ensues. Vanilla is knocked out by the penguin gas. The henchmen are defeated, and Penguin gets put in a big giant net by Robin.
It is odd to think that Batman and Robin were in the vault. I mean, I have to believe that it was open a crack.
They would have they would have had to crack the safe open to hide in there.
And it's weird that they were like, it's weird that they waited. Like, so they had to leave the dinner. Let's say that they weren't really knocked out. They weren't really knocked unconscious because they took their pills. They are anti-penguin poison pills. And so they had to race to the Batmobile, race to the hideout where they only could guess that that's what Penguin was going to be. I mean, Penguin was pretty sure that nobody was going to be there because they already looked there. So why would they show up again? And yet Batman and Robin knew that they were going to be there, and then wait in layer in a, like open the vault, get in the vault, and then leave it open a crack so they could know when the Penguin has gotten there, and then jump out and fight. I don't know. I kind of half expected them to just fight at the dinner on the boat. Like I thought they were gonna like fight then, but they did not. So it was I mean, don't get me wrong, the hideout is a great set. It looks really cool. And the different angles that the director shows it at, and the set design of this sort of, uh sea worn place looks like really cool. I think it's like a really cool design. I would have loved to. I mean, it would be cool to have it as a set for your action figures or toys or whatever, but there just seems to be no reason to go to it and fight there instead of just fight him. I mean, they got him red-handed right on the boat. Just take him
Yeah.
out there.
It's not like they were very sneaky either. You kept seeing them in the windows in the background. I'm like, dudes, can't you even hide a little bit or maybe duck under the window so you're not seen? No, we keep seeing them in the background going through the window. They're in this window, then they're in this window. Like,
Oh, right, because they're telling her what to do. Like you need to use the gas now.
yeah. And I'm like, you guys keep walking. There's like 12 gentlemen in here, plus Batman and Robin, and you're walking right in front of the windows.
Yeah, yeah, it's laid out very strangely. So, but anyway, we do get a pretty cool fight sequence with Batman and Robin here. I think there's a moment where Robin is the one who actually takes out the Penguin.
Yes.
I thought that was really cool. Batman was locking up. He locked one guy in the vault. I don't know why he just didn't lock them all in the vault. He locks one guy in the vault. He locks one of the henchmen in a fish trap or bait trap or whatever. And then I don't know what happened in the other one, but Robin is the one who actually corners the Penguin and gets him trapped. And I was like, thank you. Like, we don't get to see Robin do a lot like that, so I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool myself.
Yeah, but again, Fenella just is useless here, and she's just kind of, like I said, annoying. And
She was
yeah,
actually gassed, so she was knocked out during the fight.
she was. Yeah, yeah. So but that didn't stop the director from keeping showing her, from
No.
showing her, like cutting to her unconscious body, every so often, in that sparkly suit.
Back at Wayne Manor, Alfred comes walking into the millionaire's party with a tray of drinks and two women on his arms. Mrs. Cooper yells, Alfred! I died laughing at that scene because here comes Alfred carrying these drinks, but he's got two girls on his arms and a big
He does.
smile on his face.
He does.
and and Mrs. Cooper is not happy about it.
No, no. Was she at the other gathering as well?
No.
It seemed like this was the first time we saw her in this two-parter.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah,
it
this
felt
is
like
the
to me.
first time we've seen her.
Yeah. So she doesn't approve of all this millionaire bathing suit nonsense stuff. That's for sure.
No. Dick is talking with the real Miss Natural Resources when Alfred interrupts the conversation. Dick excuses himself and reassures Alfred that it wasn't his fault he was brainwashed. Bruce Wayne joins in the conversation and adds that without Alfred, Batman would never have succeeded in capturing the Penguin.
Yeah, it
All
doesn't
right,
seem
I'm going to
like
stop here
when
for a second because I don't think this is the appropriate place to be having this conversation. people can overhear you. I just thought it was odd. And then, you know, we see Dick talking to Miss Natural Resources, which makes sense. Alfred kind of interrupts his conversation. They go off together and then they start having this conversation about Batman and Alfred being brainwashed. And then Bruce Wayne just he kind of leans in weirdly and then and joins the conversation. I'm like, yeah, this isn't the appropriate place for this conversation. And you would think they would have had this conversation way before the party.
Well, Alfred didn't look like he was feeling too guilty when he came out of the kitchen with those two girls. But then you're right. The whole thing is weird because Alfred comes out with the girls. Mrs. Cooper is like, Alfred, don't do that. And then Dick goes over and talks to Miss Natural Resources, and it seems really weird. There seems like there's a tension there, and then Alfred comes and almost like escorts like Dick away, like you shouldn't be talking to her. And then he confesses that he's still feeling guilty about what everything that happened. And you're right, Bruce Wayne comes in, and then like throughout this discussion, and all of a sudden you got Commissioner Gordon coming in with Fenella on his arm, and you're like, what is happening? Like, what kind of party is this?
So Commissioner Gordon arrives at the party with Vanilla. She assisted Batman with capturing the Penguin, so Bruce Wayne invited her to the party. He even bought her a fur coat. Bruce hopes that one day, when she has paid her debt to society, that not only will she be free for just one day, but forever. That whole ending scene at the Wayne Manor was just weird.
Yeah. And then like I said, you also like while Miss Cooper is like trying to keep her eye on everything, he's got these guys coming up to her and be like, "We want more punch." And I'm like, "What's in this punch?" It yeah, very, very strange. Very, very strange sequence. I mean, it's the 60s, so I mean, that's kind of all I can say about it. It's in the 60s and it's just not a great way to end the season, in my opinion.
and then and then we end the episode with next week the Batman faces the Catwoman.
Which has to be a rerun.
It has to be
Um,
because we're at the end of the season.
we're at the end of the season. We know season two isn't going to start for a while. We don't even know at this point if there's going to be a season two. So I think that at least according to what I was reading, like, but when this aired in May 5th, 1966, they had no idea if there was going to be a second season yet. They hadn't started filming. So so yeah, this had to be a rerun. So they're going to show the Catwoman episode again. So yeah, the season is over, and yet Batmania is taking over because this first season, as we have found out, Drew, is pretty damn amazing overall.
I
Uh,
have to agree.
I will say that the ending of this season with the Penguin, sometimes, the fact that these seasons are 34 episodes, I think sometimes it shows in the quality of the episodes that we get themselves. So, and I will have to say that, it kind of ended. I would have loved the ending to have been, a couple of episodes before this with the Riddler's two-parter, because that would have sort of bookended the show, right? Like the first
Yeah,
season, we start with the Riddler, we end with the Riddler. And knowing we're not going to get Frank Gorshin for another season, that kind of hurts. But I know that we've got some good stuff coming. But really, the fact that they did all of this, all of everything that they've done and everything that we've talked about this year in their first season, and they came out right out of the gate, pretty much not with a rough start, but with as gangbusters. I thought this is, you got to say, this is one of the best first seasons of any show that you've ever seen, just because it's so full of really great moments, I think.
I have to agree with you.
So not I mean, so having seen these or not having seen a lot of these or remembering them or whatever, like, so is there anything about this first season that really surprised you about, like, oh, I didn't know all that stuff was happening so early on in the show, or maybe I expected this to happen and it hasn't happened yet, or what is it about the first season that really has struck you and surprised you?
Um, I think one of the things, the cameos, we didn't see as many cameos as I thought we were going to. We kind of mentioned that earlier. I was expecting to see more of the different bat vehicles, the bat boat, the bat helicopter, and stuff like that. I guess that doesn't come until season two.
Yeah, because they need the budget of the movie to pay for those. So we'll get those after the movie.
So
I think some of them are mentioned.
they
Uh,
mentioned I remember a few episodes ago they mentioned the bat copter.
yeah, and I think they mentioned the Bat boat on one occasion. They didn't have enough time to get it or something like that.
We
I don't.
we did see the motorcycle
Yes, yes,
once.
yes. We did see the
We
motorcycle, but yeah, they are about to make in between this first season and what would be a second season. They're making a movie. My understanding is that shooting the movie happened just, I think, not even a month after they finished the season. So they went right into filming the movie.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I think Adam West in his interviews and books and in the book he wrote and everything like that. I think I've seen him sort of complain that by this point it was a lot that was on him, that he was really like he didn't get a break. And when you see an episode like this, where not only is Batman shown a lot, but Bruce Wayne is shown a lot, and heck, they flip around back and forth between the two in this one more than I think they have in any other story. You see that Adam is doing a lot of work on the show. I'm not saying he's the only one doing work, and but he's doing a lot of work, and yeah, he's needed on set all the time. So yeah, I guess that started to take its toll at the end of the first season, and then going right into the movie he doesn't get a break. Um so we'll see that how that plays out in later seasons and whatnot, but yeah, they he is used a lot. But yeah, so we'll have to wait and see some of the other vehicles. The movie does allow them to build some sets that will be used and some set pieces that will be used in the series as well. I was kind of surprised this time around. My biggest surprise was that I didn't realize how many of the episodes that were filmed in the first season were based on actual adaptations of comic stories. Unfortunately, I don't think we get that much in season two that are based on actual comic stories, nor season three. There's a few that we'll talk about, but not a lot of them. And I think almost half of the stories that were done for this first season were actually pretty good adaptations, I think, of the actual comic stories as we found out. And that was really kind of interesting for me to see because I had no idea that that was the case. I thought they'd taken elements here and there, but I didn't realize they actually adapted some specific stories. So, I do think that they might be kind of running low. It does take really creative people to come up with really creative plots for the villains as well as death traps for cliffhangers. And I think we saw in the later season of the later half of the season, I think we saw them struggle with that a little bit.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, especially in this episode.
Yeah. I mean, just showing balloons pop, not really. I mean, when just the story, the cliffhanger before that was Robin like literally on a like almost like inches away from a saw, like a saw blade, like splitting him in two, like that that's pretty graphic and that's pretty intense. And then you just have like balloons popping. So, I mean, it's not. I mean, now granted the resolution of the one with the Riddler and the saw blade was not. I don't know if that was that satisfactory as well, but I would say it was more satisfactory than this one.
Yeah. Some of the most memorable cliffhangers I remember from this season, of course, the Bruce Wayne heading toward the furnace,
Yep.
Mrs. Cooper hanging over the boiling oil. That one. Um, the one from the Catwoman episode where we have Batman and the tiger and Robin being fed to the tigers, the spiked walls. Of course, that's one of my favorite episodes, so that's been
Hmm.
ingrained in my head since I was a kid. But that's some of the more memorable ones. We had Batman and Robin tied to the subway train. I mean, that granted, them being saran wrap on the wrist and stuff was kind of lame, but it's still memorable. And of course, the one where they're spinning around, that one was a pretty good one too.
Yeah, I think that was a Riddler one as well.
Yeah.
The one with the bookworm where Robin was tied up to the bell, the inside of the bell, I thought was pretty, where the bell tower, I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah, a lot of great cliffhangers. It's easy to see that, but the cliffhanger that really stuck with me as a kid, we have not seen yet. So I imagine that's going to happen in the second season. So I can't wait to talk about that one and review that one when we get to it. But any other things from this season as a whole that stood out for you? I mean, we had
The
um,
mention the mention of Bruce Wayne's father. We had it in the
mhm,
first episode, the clock tower. We had it during the Penguin episode where he takes his father's umbrella into the shop. So we had quite a few mentions of Bruce Wayne's father that I didn't remember.
yeah, me neither. And then there's that one sequence where they're at the party, and I think it's Commissioner Gordon says that Bruce Wayne's parents were murdered, and he tells the story there. Also, it's not a cliffhanger, but the opening few minutes of that one with Bookworm, where Commissioner Gordon gets killed or shot.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, that's probably one of the most intense things that we saw all season. So, we saw Riddler 4 times. We saw Penguin 3 times, Joker 3 times, and then everybody else we just saw the once. Mr. Freeze, Zelda, Mad Hatter, False Face, Catwoman, King Tut, and Bookworm. And so that's a pretty good rogues gallery. Obviously, there's some more to come that we will get to. Some will be new, and some will be uh, interpreted from the comics. Although I don't think there's too many more that are interpreted from the comics. I'll be curious to see, but I know we've definitely got some new ones that were created for the show coming. But any thoughts on? Obviously, we're going to see Catwoman a lot more
Yep.
than once, like next season. I mean, I think we're going to see her probably
I
more
think
than
it's
anybody else.
I think I kind of glanced at next season. It looked like she had three different story arcs. So
Gotcha. And we'll still see Penguin. He'll show up a few times, I'm sure. Joker, I think he gets up to a little bit more. And the Riddler, we will see him, I think, but he's going to be played by somebody else. Uh, Mr. Freeze, we will see, but he'll be played by somebody else. But the rest of them, Zelda, Mad Hatter, False Face, Bookworm, those are done. We will not, as far as I know, we will not see those guys again. King Tut, we will see again. I believe. I'm not sure if it's second season or not, but I know we will see him again as
I'm
well. So,
pretty sure I saw when I was glancing through, I saw King Tut.
right. So, are there any villains that in particular that you really really enjoyed more than others this season?
I really enjoyed the Riddler.
Hmm.
I gotta say that, and I did really like that episode of the Joker with the milk. That was kind of a fun one because it felt different, in the high school setting and stuff. So I did like that two-parter.
Yeah, yeah, it's a
And
good one.
of course, my favorite was the Catwoman two-parter. So
Sure, sure.
just because I remember that one from that's probably the most memorable of the two. Of course, I had it on Viewmaster too, so that could be part of the reason.
It's kind of a shame out of all the ones that are only airing, like that only show up in this first season. I do think that I mean, Mad Hatter would have been kind of cool to see again because I think that one was pretty. I don't know. The first episode I think is much better than the second episode if that he was in, but I did really appreciate Roddy McDowell's performance. But I really thought that the False Face one was pretty cool, and I would love to have seen False Face again. I think that there was a lot more that it could have been done with him. So it's a kind of a shame that that one didn't work out for more episodes. But again, I mean, I can't fault like Riddler, Penguin, Joker, Catwoman. I'm glad that we will not only see them next season, most of them, but we will also see them in the movie. They all will be teaming up together, Drew, for Batman the movie, which is what our is going to be next on our agenda. So,
And
um,
I'm pretty familiar with the movie. I've seen it several times. So, of
awesome.
course, I remember we didn't if you didn't have live TV with the reruns of Batman and Robin on it, you couldn't get it on VHS or anything, but they did release the movie, and I had the movie, so I remember watching it several times because that was the only way I could get Batman 66 if it wasn't on live TV. So,
Yeah, absolutely. I think that uh I think yeah, I'm really familiar with the movie as well because you're right. As you couldn't see the series a lot, whether because of all the legal stuff that was going on with it, you couldn't get a home version of it for until like a while ago. So it was very difficult, but the movie was always available. And it always they showed it on TV a lot too. I think most people are familiar, if they're familiar with anything, but as far as the 60 series goes, they're familiar with the movie. So it'll be cool to see the movie. It's been a little while since I've seen it. So it'll be cool to revisit it. I think I on DCU when we talked about the movie? Was I on there? Did I join you for that? Or no, was it just you guys?
I don't think we talked about the 66 movie.
Gotcha. Because
I don't believe so.
I think I've done it for Earth Station One then, because I do recall being on some podcasts and talking about the movie. So um yeah, so that'll be fun to do, I think. So look for a big bonus, or not bonus. It's going to be our regular episode. Will be the movie. So just in time for I don't know, the holidays coming up. I don't know. It's hard to tell. We kind of record early, so
Yeah.
so it may be. But if we're watching the movie, it's going to be a holiday.
All right. Well, that wraps up another episode. Do you have a shout out, Mike?
I do. Last week, I gave a shout out to a website that was pretty helpful in terms of a lot of research that I do, and sort of people that have a love for this series that have done some really cool stuff. I want to give a shout out to another website too, and it's another podcaster that I became familiar with at DragonCon actually, and I think it was 10 years ago this year that we actually were on our first panel together. We weren't the only ones on the panel, but we were on a panel at 8:30 in the morning on a Sunday, which is not easy to pull off at DragonCon. But I remember I showed up at this panel and it was 8:30 in the morning, got out of bed, rolled out of bed, did what I needed to do cleanup wise, and got to the room where this panel was. I was a few minutes early and there was a line. It was a line that I hadn't seen before at a panel. So not that I was part of anyway. And I was like, my goodness, what's the line for? And it was for the panel. And I was like, oh my goodness. Well, there were two reasons. One, the panel was on Batman. So obviously that's going to get some interest. And two, they hadn't unlocked the door to the room yet. So So once one of the organizers came and unlocked the door, we all trucked on in, and I was on a wonderful panel regarding Batman. And I was on with someone who I would do panels on Batman as well as comic panels at DragonCon almost every year since then. And that is Michael Bailey, fellow Michael Bailey. And he does a lot of podcasts, and he puts them all under the banner, the Fortress of Baileytude. So one of his main focuses has always been Superman. He loves Superman. He's one of the, I would say, and I don't use this term lightly, but when it comes to Superman, I would coin him as an expert. One of the smartest people I know, most knowledgeable people I know about Superman, and he also his knowledge about about Batman is pretty impressive as well, and probably beats my own by a lot. At least in terms of the things he can retain. That's my problem, is that I know a lot of stuff, but I can't retain it. So I can't like regurgitate it a lot of that. But he also does a podcast called The Overlooked Dark Knight, which talks about some of the lesser known things about Batman that people haven't covered already. And so that's part of the Fortress of Baileytude podcast network. So check out the Fortress of Baileytude podcasting network. You can Google that. We'll also have a link in the show notes. But Michael is a good friend, and I look forward to. I know I'm slated to do it one podcast with or one panel with him at DragonCon this year, but we're also hoping we can get the gang together. And yes, it might require us to get up early again on a Sunday to talk about Batman, but we are going to try to do a 10-year anniversary of that panel. It's weird when you do anniversary panels about panels that you've been on, then you know that Dragon Con is a dragon that kind of eats its own tail, but it's so wonderful and we always have fun. But yeah, we are definitely going to be discussing a lot of fun stuff at Dragon Con, which we always do. So check out Michael Bailey's work at the Fortress of Baileytude.
All right, and for my shout out, I unfortunately I don't have a Batman shout out this this week. I'm actually going to shout out about a television show I've been watching called The Rookie, starring Nathan Fillion, and it was recommended to me and my wife, and we started watching. It's really good. I was surprised. It's got a good mixture of seriousness and funny in it. I don't know if you've seen The Rookie or not, Mike, but
I'm aware of it, but I have never actually watched a whole episode. Well, actually, that's not true. I think I did watch a couple of episodes at one point, and it seemed fine. It just not my cup of tea at this point, but certainly it stars Nathan Fillion, who I absolutely love watching him. So he's a big component of that show, right?
yeah, he is.
He is
So
the rookie.
he's the rookie. Yep.
Or at least I think for the first season or two. I don't know how they keep that going with as long as that show's been on, but
So we're into we're probably, I'm guessing, 7 episodes into it so far. I'm enjoying it, so thought I'd give a shout out for it. I also want to make mention that Nathan Fillion's supposed to be in the new Superman movie that's coming out in about a year, so he's going to be
I,
playing Guy Gardner.
they have
I'm excited to check that out.
they have shown images of him on the set, so or at least some images outside the set when they've been shooting, I guess, on location or something. So I've seen a couple of images of him, yes, and yeah, it's hard to come up with a James Gunn movie that he's not in, but he's always solid. So I don't blame James for doing that as well. So
If you'd like to comment on anything we've talked about tonight, you can reach us at our feedback line, 317-455-8411. Leave us a message, text us, or you can email us at batchumspodcast@gmail.com. All right, you ready to get out of here, Batchum?
sure thing. BatChums are ready to move out and go to the movies.
Atomic batteries to power, turbines to speed. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week or next season at the movies. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Don't worry, the worst is yet to come. And I could say at the movies there too, but I'm not going to beat that horse dead yet. So we'll just say the worst is yet to come. But hopefully that doesn't mean the movie's bad. But I know it's not because we've already seen it. So
Multiple times.
exactly. Maybe our review of it. I can't speak to how good that's going to be, but we're going to do our best.